Hello everyone. Hello everyone. My name is Julia. I'm the event and community manager at Lemon.io. Lemon.io connects the early stage startup with vetted engineers, and we spend a lot of time with developers before accepting them to the community. When a startup comes to us with an open role, we offer the candidate who is the best fit for it. Our guest today is Lisa, a Forbes 30 under 30 product marketing leader. Lisa has an impressive background, having been well known in the engineering and startup community before selling her own startup. I encourage you today ask Lisa any question you may have during this session. The person who asks the best question will receive a very special gift from Lemon.io. Please welcome Lisa, and my community be with you.
Hello. I'm super happy to be here today and share all of my knowledge and experience with brand building. Today's session will be focused on building brand as engineering leader, product manager leader, and generally how to become opinion leader in tech. So a little bit about myself. I'm an engineer by background, and for the last 10 years, I work in marketing and product marketing. I was working as head of product marketing, head of marketing at a lot of companies before. As Yuli mentioned, I built my own startup, which was a tool for iOS developers, and sold it. And I worked a lot on my personal brand. And actually, it came to receiving awards as product marketing leader, as product marketing influencer, receiving Forbes 30 under 30 award, as well as blogging at Forbes, IINADO, ProductHunt, Product School. I think I wrote my own book, which was around 70-something pages, pretty big one. I work a lot with social media, with my own networks like LinkedIn, and working with opinion leaders. And all of that, it was a lot of work. It was actually a journey since 2015. And today I want to share my honest framework on building a brand, why you want to do so, how to do it, and what can you start doing today. So ideally, after this conversation, you'll have your own framework to build your brand. Let's start with why. And I will be very open with you. When you have a brand, you have much more job opportunities and you have a higher salary. I put the real screenshots from my LinkedIn, which I'm receiving pretty often, where people notice, hey, I saw your Forbes 30 under 30, I saw you post this, I saw you post that. And actually, when I work actively on my brand, I receive on average 3 job offers, not offers, but just job proposals per week, which is pretty cool, as well as being able to ask for higher salary. And we're all very selfish, so it's normal to receive such things when you build your brand. On top of that, you have higher social trust when you hire, especially when you need to build team from scratch. People come to you because they trust you. And on top of that, it's easier to apply for O1 visa if you are from emerging country like Ukraine. You're getting advisor opportunities. A great example from founder of Pragmatic Engineering newsletter. He even wrote like, I'm not accepting more of advising opportunities because I have enough of them. And when you have a strong brand online, a lot of startups ask you to be a mentor, to be an advisor, and it's a very cool way to get leads for investing. Also, you can earn on teaching others. I put one screenshot from a popular opinion leader, Yelena Verna, who charged around $500 for her talk. Again, I mean, it takes a lot of time to get there, but some opinion leaders and influencers, they can charge for $10,000 for one sponsorship in their issue, newsletter or podcast. So it's also a way to earn money. On top of that, it's a way to get customers. For Lemon.io, we have a lot of our leads coming from founders' Twitter, and as well as a lot of partners who I get from there. So there are a lot of benefits you can get if you work on your own brand. However, it's not easy. It takes around 1 hour every day before you see some meaningful results. It might take you up to 3 months. So you invest 1 hour each day, you spend 3 months, and then you'll see some results. And unfortunately, it's never ending. Whenever you stop working on your brand, people forget about you, and you lose everything which you created before. So if you are ready to go on this journey with me, what would be your framework? I love thinking about my own brand as a product. And if I would be a product, my product has an objective. So what I want to achieve with my brand. Do I want to move to another position? Do I want to get O1 visa and social proof that I'm talented? Do I want to get clients for my startup through my own brand? I need to know what I want to achieve. Also, I want to understand what is my value proposition. What value my brand can bring to my users. And users are also people who will be consuming my brand, the people whom I want to get as my readers or followers, or those people who will join my talks. And my go-to-market is how I will deliver my value to my users through which online channels. Again, try to think about yourself. What's your value proposition, for whom this value proposition will be delivered, and how you will deliver that. Let's talk in details about each of those. So value proposition is basically what unique knowledge do you have? What skills you have? What have you achieved before? What can be really valuable about yourself, about your achievements, about your knowledge? What your desired audience would love to learn, and what other opinion leaders share in your space. You need to take those questions and spend some time for yourself, just trying to figure out what is so unique about you, because you are your brand is your product. I was a little bit lazy with this, so I just asked ChatGPT, like, hey, I work on my brand and I want to define my value proposition. Please answer on these 6 questions. I just copy questions which I show to you, and I paste my LinkedIn bio. So here's my LinkedIn bio, here's what I made, here's what I achieved, here's questions. Please tell me what is my value proposition. So I really liked what ChatGPT proposed to me. Unique knowledge I have, skills and experience for marketing for developers, track record of achieving building marketing for high growth startups. Then I ask ChatGPT to be more specific, and I get 7 bullet points of what could be my value proposition. A deep understanding of marketing and developers and designers and founders, full stack marketing expertise, proven track record of driving growth, expertise in product marketing and launch, a passion for marketing for developers, cross-functional leadership, and ability to work with different tools and platforms. I strongly advise you to do the same for yourself. And some of those points for me actually were very valuable. because I do use growth loops and all of the growth frameworks as my value proposition. I do talk about building processes from scratch, and I talk a lot about cross-functional collaboration and user research. So all of those things as value proposition, I have written down for myself as bullet points. And those bullet points basically mention what unique I know, what are my super skills, what I can share with community and with my users. Okay, but what if you don't have 10 years of experience and you didn't build your own company? That's normal. Lisa version 2015 was someone who just started a company, just was working in marketing for a few years. And back then, I didn't have such a deep expertise in many areas. However, my value proposition back then in 2015, 2019 was how to combine marketing with development. I was creating a lot of useful content about marketing for engineers, promoting iOS apps. I also was learning Swift back then, and it was an amazing journey for me. And my value proposition was sharing my learning experience, how I, as a marketer, learning development, what useful resources I use, what blogs I read, what podcasts I listen. So my value proposition was my learning journey, because it was interesting for a lot of people, for a huge part of my audience, and how to do marketing for mobile apps and marketing for developers. So if you were like me in 2015, I'm sure you have something as your value proposition as well. Okay, so when you know your value proposition, who will be your users? Who are those consumers of your brand? For me, in 2015, 2019, those were iOS developers, and all of them were my users of my startup. So by pushing my brand forward, by giving very useful content, iOS developers were engaging with my brand and engaging with my company. This was one of the biggest acquisition channel for my startup back then. And again, this is amazing audience to work with. I really love iOS developers, the most kind people on the planet. But let's come back to other audience you might work with. You might work with founders of high growth startups. Right now, those are my clients with whom I work. So most of the content and value I provide for those audience. On top of that, for me, another audience is product marketing managers, because I hire them for building my own teams. And I know those three groups of people, and those my users. When you will be working on your own brand, you need to think who will benefit from your knowledge. Whom do you want to reach with your content? Whom do you want to reach with your brand? Who should be those people who will read you, comment you, engage with you? And you need to really write them down as specifically as you can. Imagine if it's a product and you have value proposition, you have a user profile, and you really need to know those people, because otherwise, if you don't know them, how can you create something valuable for them? The last part of this framework is go-to-market. It's actually about how to bring your brand to your audience, to your users, where your brand should be present. At which platform should you share your knowledge? Should it be Twitter, LinkedIn? Should it be public talks? Should it be some meetups? Should it be article on TechCrunch? Or should it be a local UX meetup? Should we be present at the biggest startup conference, Web Summit? Or maybe that's not the place for you to go. If you know your audience, you will have a very strong understanding where you should be. For example, iOS developers, users of my startup in 2015, 2019, they were engaging with iOS newsletters, like iOS Dev Weekly, or with GitHub repos of best listings of something, with iOS conferences and meetups like Cocoa Heads, with Twitter, because Twitter was the biggest place where iOS developers communicated back then, with a lot of opinion leaders who created amazing content. They're really awesome. And with a lot of small and medium iOS publications. So I knew all of those places, and I knew that my brand and my value should be presented there. So in that way, I can reach those people, engage with them. So I strongly advise you to copy this framework and do it for yourself. Write down your value proposition with the help of ChatGPT or by yourself. Write down your users, those people who will engage with your brand, and write down your go-to-market, how you'll bring your brand to those users. Don't be shy. Imagine yourself as a product which you need to push forward to the world. Okay, so you feel that framework. So what's next? I really love this concept of having a roadmap, especially when you learn a programming language. You have so much things to do, and you feel like, oh my god, it's such a big task. But when you think on it as a roadmap of steps you do little bit by little bit, you will finally get where you need. So I propose you to have 3 simple things you will do every month, but do it constantly. And will be your roadmap to build your brand based on the framework which you already created. Okay, so what you should do in April? You have only 3 small steps. First one, you need to highlight your value in social platforms used by your users. And you know your value, you know your users, so you know what those platforms will be. Second one, you should create X amount of short form posts in a place where your community or your users spend time. And third one, you should create only one long form content at self-published media. Super simple. Now let's talk how to do those 3 steps. So how to highlight your value? Your value should go into your public image. You should showcase what you know, why you're cool, why people should trust you in those platforms where your users spend time. For example, for me, 2015, 2019, it was Twitter and GitHub. Right now, a lot of developers move to Mastodon, for example. And for startup founders, those are LinkedIn mostly. So you need to know those places where your public image should be presented. What comes inside public image? It's your description, your photo, social media cover and banner, and social proof of your achievements. I really like Vincent example. It's one of the great content creator and opinion leader in iOS community, and he presented himself as Swift UI teacher, someone who contribute to the community, give a lot of talks. So that's like a very short. It's like only 2 lines, but you see when you look on this profile, on this public image, you see someone who teach and educate, and that's what you need to do for yourself. Another example is from Ahmad, who is working on his own brand for hiring purposes. He put all of the social achievements he has, again, social talk on the background, photo with a microphone, giving a talk. So that's a public image you need to work. You need to work on for yourself. Another example from the Code Guides, an awesome creator in the code community who has, comparing to 17,000 followers, 2.2 followers. However, he speaks about his value in a very unique way. I'm on a track to make 500,000 this year alone with no-code tools. Follow for all things Coda. So his value is his real journey from a school teacher to no-code maker. It's really fascinating. And his value is to share all insights on this way and also learn about Coda. You don't need to be, super famous or have all of the awards and achievements in order to work in your own brand. You just need to find this value proposition in yourself. By the way, both of them sharing very cool content. Okay, another example is Anastasia. It's someone I met while I was running my own startup. Anastasia share everything about security, cryptography, and she's very prominent with her brand because she put it just straight away. If you want to know about security, that's what I'm sharing. I'm also part of Women Who Code community. Another example is Christoph, and his value proposition is empowering people with his apps. You can see his apps on his in his media banner. You can see him giving a talk, as well as Anastasia. She's giving a talk on some crypto topic on behind. And the great example of those 2 screenshots that by just putting information about yourself, you form a very strong public image of you, and you do it like that. For example, where is Christoph located? Swift. It's iOS programming language. So it really makes you remember those people just by reading their bio and seeing their photos. More example of highlighting a value. Alexander, who is founder of Lemon.io, his value proposition is insights into growing to 15 million startup company. Follow him to know those insights. Kat, who is running NoCode exists, so she's sharing her journey of becoming entrepreneur, and she just sold her first company. Another example, T-Bomb, building 2 startups to 10 million ARR, sharing all my learnings about startups audiences building while building new stuff. So all of those are great examples of value proposition you can put forward, you can showcase to your audience, and people will consume your value proposition. Just need to figure out what it will be. Okay, let's imagine you created your public image, you filled all of the profiles, which you should have. Then your second task for April is create short form content. It will be only 12 posts with your main value in social network where your users spend time. Again, brand building is about creating a lot of content. I will focus on LinkedIn and Twitter because those platforms where I work most for building my brand. And creating short form content is not short. It starts with having content, schedule, and consistency. I have 71 pages of social posts from 2022 and 2023. Again, some of those are draft, some of those are final. It takes a lot of time to put all of them together. But when I put them, then I work on scheduling. For scheduling, I use one app. It costs around $18 per month. I work with 3 posts on LinkedIn, and before, when I was working with Twitter, it was around 3 tweets per week. So it's not much. It's not really that much as other people do. However, it's enough for me to keep my brand online. And consistency, you should do it weekly. It might sound difficult to create those content, so let's talk about some real examples. You'll have 3 super simple tactics to create content. First one, I made this. It's super easy content you can create. And I made this comes to, hey, I have 10,000 developers who are using my app every day. And it's really cool to share, and people love engaging with that content. Hey, I sold my small stuff. Or from Vincent, hey, I have 9,000 followers on my YouTube. Or from Lisa, hey, I finished Reforge. And for my audience, Reforge is a big deal. Or, hey, we have 100,000 people in our community, or we release some new feature. So you can showcase your work, your progress, your built-in public approach. You just need to figure out those small things which you did, which your audience which will engage with. And again, your task for this month is only 12 posts. It's not that much. So at least 3 of them can be about your achievement at work, personal life, or maybe in your pet projects. Another tactic you can use, I learned this, super simple content, insights from a book, from a course you take, from lessons, or from a talk. I use this approach very often when I'm short on ideas. I take Forge courses and I do, here's what cool stuff I learned, and it works pretty nice. I'm sure you found something interesting in the last month or 2 months, which you can share with your audience, showcasing your value, which is also interesting for your users. With the Forge example, my users who are startup founders, they are really curious about growth, and Reforge is exactly about growth, and that is my value proposition, talking about growth in startups. So it's a perfect match for me to use this type of posts. And third example is I found this valuable. It's actually a very cool way to reuse content of other people. If you find templates, articles, tips of others, you can share them. I really love all of the content Vitaly is sharing. Vitaly is the founder of Smashing Magazine. Super cool blog about design, development, and product management with very long, nice articles. So what Vitaly is doing, he's taking useful articles, content, and concepts about development, about web development, about design, and he wrap it up in a nice consumable tweets. So he's not producing a unique or like some different content. He is finding all of the best tips, things in the community, all of the best articles, presents them in a nice way, and share with the community. And his Twitter feed is amazingly full of gems and cool insights. You can do the same, and it's pretty easy if you know what your audience want to read. Another example of this approach is my good friend Ksenia. She's pretty often sharing insights, posts, and learnings of other people just as they're shared. And again, it doesn't take much time, but it will keep your task of have 12 posts per month. Okay, let's imagine you do this. You have your value highlighted on social media. You have X short form posts written. And the last task for this month, for April, is to create one long form article at self-published medium. What does it mean? It means article which you share at your blog, at LinkedIn, at Medium, whenever it's just click and post it. On average, it takes me 3 days to choose a topic, what I want to write, even if it's short form. I spend around 1 week and a half to write it, so it takes a lot of time for me to write something, and around 1 day to post it, choose an image, and around 3 days to distribute it. So it takes time, but you have whole months for only 3 tasks. Okay, so how to choose a topic? Firstly, you focus on your value, which you filled before. Second, you do social listening. You see what's popular in community. For that, it's very cool to check newsletters. For example, Pragmatic Engineer, one of the most strongest newsletters for tech leaders. This newsletter has tons of topics, and you can just scroll through them, read them, get inspired, and maybe some of the topic will be similar to your experience, and you can use it as a blog article. Also, you can check communities like Reddit, for example. Startup subreddit has full of ideas. If you write for startup audience, you can just go there and find tons of insights which resonates with your experience, and you can write about that. The last one, you can work with trendy topics, everything about ChatGPT, AI, or what goes crazy in the community. You can write about that, and you can be lazy and ask ChatGPT, hey, here is my bio, here is what I know. Please suggest me several topics I can write about. Whatever works for you. Self-posted platforms are those when you put content and just click post, unlike those when you need to send your article, wait to be approved. The beauty of self-posted platform is that you get it posted immediately when you want. You can edit, you can do whatever you want, so content belongs to you. Those platforms are Medium. You can post on your personal LinkedIn feed as an article. You can post on Indie Hacker, which is focused on makers mostly. You can post as Hashnote, on Dev2, on Hacker News, on Growth Hackers. So there are plenty of websites where you can submit your articles. For this month, for April, it will be pretty enough for you to have one article posted that way. And those platforms, while they don't seem so big, like it's not super big media, you post only on Medium, those articles can be very well received. One of my articles on Medium got around 6.5K claps, so it means around 6,000 people engaged with that article. I got pretty good impressions for my LinkedIn article as well. So it's a really good idea to give it a try, even if you just started with your brand activities. Okay, so luckily you did everything we planned for May, and you're engaged and happy to move next. Don't expect any high results after 1 month of working on your brand. Unfortunately, not many people will engage with your posts. Maybe not many people will read your article, but you need to keep pushing and to keep working. So what you will do in May? Yoo-hoo! You'll create one value-packed post at 4 communities, which is read by your users. You'll also apply as a speaker to 3 local events where your users spend time. And you'll create only one long-form content for tier 3 media. And you would need to do posts for your social media as well. So this task will go from previous months to May as well, and to all other months. But you already know how to do that, so it should be simple. Yes, no, maybe? Okay. So what does it mean to create a value-packed posts? Your community spend time somewhere, right? That can be subreddits. I love reading entrepreneur and startup subreddit. It can be product hunt discussion. It can be dev2. It can be Slack communities for product marketing, product managers, iOS developers, whatever. It can be Stack Overflow when you ask question and answer. It can be Shareboard, where you can ask product management questions and get PMM leaders to answer you. So there are tons of communities where you come and ask questions. And what you should do, you as a brand, your value should come to those communities, to your users, and shine. Yes, it's about creating a lot of content in the places where your users spend time. Fun fact, ProductHunt founder Ryan Hoover, at the beginning of his career, was going to communities and spreading comments and articles to build his reputation among startup founders. So that's how it works. Okay, so what actually you do? You spend around 1 day researching communities. I try to outsource it several times to freelancers. It actually doesn't work. You really need to spend whole day, figure out where your users spend time, know the most prominent communities in the space. You will spend 1 week writing those 4 posts, because every community where you share something should have unique content you share. You cannot just cross-post some same stuff. And you'll spend 3-4 days posting because it's 4 places where you will post at different time. Let's talk about examples. Some of the communities for product marketing managers which I like is Shareboard. It's a place where you can ask all of the product marketing questions. It's a product marketing community by Product Marketing Alliance and product school community in Slack. So what I would do, I would go to those 3. I already found them, read what people are writing there, and create long form post for each of those community and share it during that month. Let's see examples. So, for example, this one is example of sharing knowledge in subreddit. It's a very long form content about creating MVP with no code, shared by Startup Studio. Well, obviously, Startup Studio helps startups build product, and their founder comes to startup community to build his brand and share useful knowledge. A perfect example of seeding your content, seeding your brand inside your community. So this is a great example of this approach. And this founder is doing a lot of posts like this. Another example from the Shareboard community, which I mentioned to you, what I do and what I did before. I go to this community, I find questions which is relevant for my audience. And in this case, my audience is product marketers whom I want to hire for my companies. So my value for them is sharing knowledge as someone who worked in product marketing for the last 10 years. So what I do, I share, I answer on questions related to product marketing, and I do it at least 3 times per week. That's the way I'm getting a lot of content shared from my brand inside those communities. And you need to identify communities for yourself and do the same. Okay, sorry for a small noise. It was my husband running around. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's say you created those posts in 4 communities. You felt super happy because some people even commented them and told you thank you for sharing your knowledge. You felt happy. What you're doing next? You're applying to 3 local events as a speaker. And again, it might feel embarrassing. It might feel scary. However, you're already someone who posting for 1 month. You have 1 article. Kudos to you, published on your LinkedIn. And you answer on some questions at 4 communities, so you even give something to community. So, you did something already. Applying to speaker it's very nice when you start with the smaller communities. First one, you research meetups, which happens in your area. Second one, you're engaged with organizers, so they will know about you, because when you're someone new in the industry, someone just building your brand, it might be a little bit hard to get speaking opportunities. So you need to engage with organizers before applying. Then you apply with a topic, propose your topic, and if you accept it, you do a preparation. I started giving talks for iOS developers way back in 2015 or 2016. And I started from local communities in Ukraine. It was Cocoa Hats and I think Women Who Code. And Cocoa Hats, it was one of the best experience of engaging with community I have ever had, because community was so local. It was actually 300 people listening to my talk, but everyone kind of knew each other, everyone engaged with each other, and the vibe was so cool and so warm that motivated me to give much more talks later. And again, I'm not a pure engineer, I'm not a pure developer, I don't write code every day. So I felt extremely embarrassed. I feel super scary to come on a stage behind 300 developers and tell them, hey, here's how you need to promote your iOS app. And my name is Lisa, by the way. So, don't be afraid of that. Just start with a smaller local meetups and build your confidence and build your public speaking portfolio, because you will need that when you will apply for bigger conferences. Okay, let's imagine you applied to 3 events, you were accepted to one, and you're waiting to give your talk next month. The last task for May for you will be to create 1 long-form content for Tier 3 Media. Well, and do all of those posts which you need to do. Tier 3 Media is a publication which is not that popular, but still it's already some online blog or like online publication which is read by other people. So usually those are niche blogs. They have traffic, but still you need to pitch your content. What does it mean? It means you need to sell your value as an expert, as your expertise to those media. First, what you do, you research where you can submit your articles. Then you engage with media founders. Again, it's much easier when you know the person who runs this blog, so it's easier for you to tweet or email that person telling, hey, I follow you for 1 month, read your newsletter, love your blog, it's so cool, I just want to share my knowledge, my expertise with your readers. After you pitch, you do a preparation. So this one is a little bit tricky, because from the moment you figure out your list where you want to get your article published, till the moment you build relationship, you approach someone and your article get published, it might take from 1 till 3 months. Again, even for a smaller media out there. Examples of those media could be HackerNoon, JetBrains, CSS Tricks, ProductHunt blog, Better Programming or Better Marketing. Both of those are Medium publications. So it's still pretty cool blogs. You will feel honored to be there, to be mentioned there, but it takes a lot of effort to get your article published. Some practical example, ProductHunt has ProductHunt Stories, which shares a lot of articles for startup founders featured on their blog. How to apply there? You have how to pitch the blog guidance. You need to read those guidance. Every media will have how to apply to them. So you read that, you write an email, luckily you get a reply. In the reply you get all of them technical requirements, what should be the size, should it be a Google Doc, what you need to include, and if it's okay, if it will be published in September. So when you get all of those requirements, you prepare your content according to requirements. You have 1, 2, 3 sessions of the feedback when you get, this should be improved, this should be added. Usually it's like a ping pong about making your article better. That's normal. The good thing with smaller publications, smaller media, is that you get feedback and you're kind of in control, because for bigger media, your article can be just, cut it, half of the article can be thrown away, another half can stay. That's not the case with Tier 3 media. So you still have very personal connection with them. And then finally, your article get published. For this example, it takes from April 17 till September 8 to be published. So still pretty good. Okay, let's imagine that you created one long form content, you pitch media, and luckily your article went live at the end of May. Huge congratulations, you really you survived second month of building your brand. So what's next? You have another 3 steps for June. You have a roadmap for until August to do stuff to build your brand. So step number 7, you create a list of 100 opinion leaders in your space and you engage with them. Those are people who your users follow, read, they love them. Next step, you apply to 3 mentorship network. That's it's a network where people propose coaching and mentorship session, additional way to showcase your brand, to shine through their network. And step number 9, you hold one Ask Me Anything session. I forgot to say, you also need to do one long form content. That's tier 3 media, and 12 short posts for June as well. Any reviews content you already have. But you know how to do that, so it's not a new task. It's just things in your backlog. I told you building brand takes time. Yes, no? Okay, so step number 7. How to engage with opinion leaders and who are those people? So actually you need to find all of the awesome people in the community. Usually it's some bloggers, influencer, someone who writes newsletter, articles, someone who is building in public, someone who is doing something cool and talk about that publicly out loud, someone who puts their brand and their value up front to users. You need to know those people. You need to follow all of them, and you need to engage with them weekly. By doing so, you will have ability to get their brand audience to yourself as well. Okay, how to find those people? If you know that you're working in the no-code space, there are a lot of listings of people in no-code. Those can be a listing website like a woman in design or no-code people, or it can be listings of no-code creators, or it can be listings of best CTO founders, or it can be listings just of anyone. You can find that on Twitter or do your own research. Form all of that in a nice table. I use Airtable for myself with people whom I like and whom I follow. I just like following them in general, and also I engage with them as well. And I use listings in Twitter with people in iOS community, people in design community, people in the code community, and people in, I think the last one was startup. So I have those 4 listings for myself. Okay, how to engage with them? This is a little bit tricky because it's like building relationship. Whenever you comment someone, that comment can be shared, that comment can be seen by followers of those opinion leaders. At some point, they will also help you distribute your content as well and push your brand forward. How to build those relationships? It's more an art. It's how to be kind, how to write smart comments, how to showcase other people's work. What I used heavily when I was running my startup, I was following all of the people in our, let's say, community leaders list. And when I saw some of them were sharing great article or a cool podcast or just a new product, I was making a very nice, very positive, and it was like a very honest tweet about, hey, my followers, take a look. Someone shared a very cool product which is super useful for iOS developers, or look, a lot of people whom I follow shared very nice articles useful for you. So I was sharing their content. I was actively highlighting their work. I was doing like a screenshot of the cool stuff I admire about them, and slowly but very effectively, I built relationship with all of the opinion leaders in the iOS area, and it was very organic process for me because I generally love content they share. I found it useful, and it was useful for my audience. I also spent at least 30 minutes every day just commenting people, and those comments were like what I like about the stuff they did, why it's cool. So you need to find your own way to do that. If you would ask ChatGPT, write me 15 comments for those 15 opinion leaders, it will not work out. But if you would invest 30 minutes every day, you might find that at some point your brand and your content efforts is shared by someone with much stronger brand than yours, just because you were kind and nice to that person. I do that pretty often for people who build their brand, and I know other people do that as well. Okay, so let's imagine you created that list of opinion leaders, you engage with 10 of them in June, it's not a lot. Your next task is to push your brand forward through Mentorship Network. Those are places where you can apply and become a coach or a mentor. It can be on a free based or on a paid based. The cool stuff about mentorship/coaching network is that they push you forward. So they showcase you to their clients, they showcase you to their community, and they also showcase when you did something cool, how many sessions you run, how many cool stuff you did. So it's also your way to show that you are giving back to community, and you get you get kind of official representation that you are someone trustable, which is very nice way for brand building. There are a lot of communities like that, from Mentor Quiz to the Mentoring Club, Growth Mentor, and all of those are in this list. I will ask for organizers to send my presentation and my materials to everyone who registered, so you can use my database, which I created for myself, and register in those network. The process is that you fill out the profile, you fill out the application form, you have some step to fill out the profile. Sometimes you have an interview, sometimes you don't have an interview. Sometimes your profile can be public, sometimes your profile will be hidden. Sometimes it's paid, sometimes it's free, but in any case, you get your online representation as a mentor or as a coach, sharing your unique value to your users. It's just pretty cool. Okay, next step is to hold one Ask Me Anything session. This one is very interesting. What you do when you run AMA session, you come to your users and you share your knowledge. You allow them to ask you. And again, this is already, your step number 8. So you work on your brand in April, you work in your brand in May, you already have several articles, you already have continuous short form posting for 2 months. You probably already gave one talk, you already engaged with opinion leaders, so they know you, and you also applied to as an advisor or as a mentor. So you already have something behind your belt. And what you do next, you run a session where people ask you questions. Those can be held on different platforms or even inside your own network like Twitter. So usually you start with choosing a platform. You can do it on ProductHunt, in ProductHunt discussion. You can do it on Reddit. Reddit has Ask Me Anything subreddit, and also Reddit has Ask Me Anything threads for almost every subreddit, for startups, for design, for web, for programming. So you just need to find those. You can do Ask Me Anything at Dev2. You can do it at Indie Hacker. You can do it at Hacker News. I guess you can also do it at just like in Twitter, posting, hey, I'm answering questions for the next 1 hour, ask me anything. Your next step when you do that, you read the rules, you figure out what type of questions people ask. You do a short preparation. There is no harm in having 3-4 of your friends asking of some questions you want to answer. So there is no harm in that. So you'll have at least some people asking questions, so you won't be alone there. And then you run it. A great example of AMA is just, hey, I'm a senior front-end developer, ask me anything. And, 250 people ask questions. So, and the value for this AMA is, if you're a beginner for JavaScript and just, struggling, Ask me, I will teach you, I will help you. Or, hey, I'm a maker, I build a ton of products. Do you want to build your products? Ask me anything. Or I built my own startup, ask me how I did it. So you don't need to have 10 years of experience to run AMA. You just need to know something, the value which will be useful for your users, for your audience, and you will know that in this specific channel, people will be engaging with this content. For example, Indie Hacker will be perfect for maker stuff. Hey, I launched something here, how I did it. Dev2 will be perfect about development topics, especially if you share how to do something for the beginners. And Growth Hacker will be cool about all of the how I receive 30% month-over-month growth for MRR for my previous startup. So you just need to be very careful with what you choose, because sometimes it gets out of hands. We run Ask Me Anything for our CTO Anwar, and he's super cool guy with a lot of experience, a very positive attitude, traveling the world, playing on guitar, etc. And we run AMA at Ask Me Anything subreddit of how he managed development team, how he worked on Lemon.io as a marketplace. And it went crazy. I have 264 comments. Some of them were very nasty, not super positive. Some of them were, just crazy. And while this AMA gets 616,000 views, which is like 500,000, it's like super a lot. The whole process was a little bit messed up because the audience was very weird. Probably that subreddit was not the best place to run this AMA. However, it went viral, it went very popular, too popular that moderators just removed it at some point, probably because something was not matching with the audience. Anyway, that was our experience, and your task is to have one Ask Me Anything for yourself. Let's imagine your June went perfect. You engage with opinion leaders, you applied through Mentorship Network, you were accepted everywhere, you hold one Ask Me Anything, and you receive 5 questions, but all of them were very nice, you felt super engaged. You also created one article, and you reused your content you already have. You felt, wow, super cool. Let's go next. Do you have your brand finally? It's too much work. Well, yes, but no, your brand building is not finished. You need to continue. What you do next? In July, you work on a strategy. That's the moment when you sit like that and you analyze. I post for 3 months. Here is what audience engaged with. So my media social strategy for the next 3 months will be this and this topics and these days. And I'm not sharing this and that because it doesn't work. You create your blogging strategy. I messaged several small media, tier 3, and all of them declined this topic. But this topic, everyone replied to me. So maybe I need to focus on this topic and in a smaller media. And I felt super nice just blogging on Medium, so maybe I will continue to do that. Also, you were accepted to the conferences as a speaker, so you feel like, hey, I can have a schedule for my conference talk for the whole year, because, conference they're scheduled for the whole year ahead, and you can apply beforehand as well. So you spend the whole July thinking about your strategy for social media, for blogging, for applying to conferences. Well, you also still need to write one article. You also need to schedule your posts. You also need to prepare and give a talk to which you agreed before. And you also need to have several coaching sessions because people saw your profile, they apply to chat with you. And also you need to engage with opinion leaders. So the work is still going on, but you focus more on strategic pieces. Okay, this is my social/blogging strategy. I have all of the topics I wanted to share. I put a value for those topics. I put link. I put when I will publish it, who will be the publisher, and have I reuse that content. And I do that for myself around once per 3 months is when I actively work on my brand. I have all of the topics for 3 months. I have the same about scheduling. I have stuff scheduled for 1 month beforehand, and I know all of the topics I will cover, and that's basically your strategy. What you share, what value you're pushing forward, to whom you push it, through which channels, and you schedule all of that. That's basically your strategy. And it can change from month to month. For example, if I want to showcase more my experience with running 29 hypotheses on the website optimization, and I'm really crazy about this right now as I'm working on this project, I will focus on this topic more. I will write maybe 1-2 article about that. I will have maybe 3-4 tweets, 3-4 LinkedIn posts about that. And I will engage more with people in this area to build my brand stronger in this CRO optimization, conversion rate optimization industry. So really it's about you, where you want to go, what you want to achieve, because it's about goal for your brand building in this particular time. For myself, I use Notion for putting all of the ideas and article slash social post topics. I use scheduling tool to schedule all of that, and I use Airtable as a task tracker. I use 3 months, 1 quarter sprints, where I put all of the strategy as a task one by one. So I know that this week I engage with 10 people in this area. This week I write 1 article. This week I apply as a speaker. This week I apply to award. So I have it as a very specific tasks in Airtable. Very boring, very, very, task oriented. Otherwise it will not work out for me. Okay, you also think about social and blogging strategy from the content reuse perspective. This is moment when you have 3 months of content, and I think it will be like 10 pages of content you already wrote. So it's a lot. So at this point, you think, how can you reuse what you already have, right? Can you do infographics from your content? Can you, maybe make newsletter from your content? Maybe you can run a short webinar. Maybe you can make a downloadable ebook. Maybe you can make, FAQ questions. So you just need to think about all of the ideas, all of the things you can do with your content, because you already invested so much time into writing all of that for the last 3 months. So you need to reuse it. So it won't, just be staying in your Google Doc. And that's part of your strategy as well. Whoa, let's talk about event strategy. In June, you need to plan which events will be happening in 2024. There are a lot of GitHub repositories with development events. They even mention where it's call for papers, CFP is open. So you can just, go there, choose conferences you like, where your users spend time, where you can bring value, and you apply there and expect to hear back in some time. Also, because you follow the community, you already know all of the opinion leaders, you keep your eye on what's going on. So you might get, call for papers just popping up in your Twitter feed, but you need to plan what you will be doing in the next 3 months in terms of conferences. For bigger one, you might apply like 6 months beforehand. For smaller one, you can apply maybe like 1 month beforehand. But still, you need to have it scheduled and planned. You can also make your speaking portfolio, because you have 2-3 events already at the local meetups, but still, you're already a speaker, right? You have something to showcase. I love example of Anastasia, where she was putting all of her talks in a nice GitHub repo with slides, so people can go take a look, with recordings. It's a very nice way to organize it. You can also invest some time and do your personal website, or just a Notion page with your conference talk. And when you apply to a talk to a bigger conference, you already put, hey, this is who I am, this is my value, this is my articles I wrote, this is my talk, so I'm not new to speaking. I was presented at this and that conferences, and it increases your social trust. You already have your brand built. So it's easier for you to get speaking opportunities, because it's a kind of competition. There are a lot of people who can be speaker. So it's your job to sell yourself and get your brand exposure to all of them event attendees. Okay, so imagine July went very productive. You have your media strategy, you have your blogging strategy, you have your conference strategy. Everything was down, everything was perfect, and now time to level up. So what you will do next? As a part of your roadmap, you have step number 13. You'll create a gated content. It's an ebook, templates, checklist. You create one long form content for very big media, tier 1, tier 2, those who have a lot of readers, popular one, and you'll join one podcast and one newsletter as an expert. And yes, you need to keep your social strategy, which probably was already scheduled. So all of the short form posts are going every month on time. You already apply to the conferences, you prepare and can give a talk, you still engaging with opinion leaders, you still are following up with the communities where users spend time. So you still keep all of the work from previous months going on. So it's never, never, ever ended. Okay, let's talk about gated content. Gated content is a very cool way to get more engagement because you give your value in exchange of some action. Usually it's, here's my revenue model, please comment, put plus, put I want it, send it to me, and I will send it to you. This way, algorithm of social networks put the post up because there is hundreds of people commented, and you give some cool stuff to the community. The hardest part is to choose a topic. Ideally, that's what you already have. For example, I have tons of the questions for user interviews. I also have tons of product marketing resources. I also have things for running hypothesis optimization. It's just like hypothesis, which can work, and I can form that as giveaway. So you need to choose the topic of what you already have. It can be ebook, template, checklist, design, Miro board, Airtable template, Notion template, even like list of the conference you can apply, or list of the mentorship network. I can give it as a giveaway, put a screenshot, share it on the platform where my users spend time, and I already posted there. If it's my own network, I already have active community because for 3-4 months I was actively posting there. If it's external community, I posted there previously. I give some value just beforehand, so they trust me. So I share it there and get a lot of people engaged with my brand. There are tons of examples how to do that, and some of the cool one. My agency has been using ChatGPT. Here's prompts. Put like, comment GPT, I will send it to you. Lemon spent $250,000 on building a brand. Now they did an awesome course for startup founders. Just comment, I will give it to you for free. And like 488 people wanted that course. Or I have a free cybersecurity swipe file containing all of the awesome stuff. Put plus, I will send it to you. I did some nice document, just comment and I will give it to you. So it's like example of a gated content. You don't ask people for email. You don't ask people to register. You just ask them to comment, to give you ability to go upper in your social feed, to put your brand forward and give them something cool you already have. So that's your task to do in August. Okay, next one, you need to work on one long form article for tier 1, tier 2 media. This one is a little bit tough because tier 1, tier 2 media, it's kind of TechCrunch, Smashing Magazine, Marketing Pros, it can be Product School, it can be Entrepreneur.com, it can be New York Times, it can be Smashing Magazine for designers or developers, for example. So those are the biggest media in your area, in your space, in your niche, read by your users, where it's hard to get accepted. My process to getting to those is usually through building personal relationship. That's how I got article at Product School or at Entrepreneur. They have a paid account right now, so you pay $1,000 per year and you can publish your articles. So it really depends on the type of the media, but usually it's time consuming and it takes effort to get there. This is my example for approaching TechCrunch, and I was sending them tons of emails with the topics that I'm like a cool person, did this and that, and I have a lot of articles. I have like different version of how I pitch them. I didn't get a reply. I haven't got a reply yet. So you should be open to pitching media for a long time and not getting reply, because there are a lot of people who reach them with the content, but at some point you will get there. So from maybe 10 companies, not companies, but 10 media you pitch, you might be accepted to one, and the process of publishing usually takes around 3 months from the moment you apply till the moment it gets published. But when you get your article featured at such a big media, immediately get much bigger reach of your brand. Okay, and the last task for you in August will be join one podcast and one newsletter as an expert. Again, you start working on your brand in April. Just after my talk, you get so inspired, took this framework and just start working. And in August, you already have several articles, several talks, you already have online presentation, you already have gated content, you already have relationship with community leaders. And maybe some of those community leaders, she has a podcast or a newsletter. So you can message her and say, hey, I have a cool topic I want to share. Would you be open featuring me as a guest speaker? And usually it works out. So good example is having your list of newsletters you want to be reached or your list of a podcast you want to be reached. And then you invite us there and share your value, share your interesting insights, and make all of the audience super happy with what you're sharing, which also makes your brand more prominent because more people figure out about you through those networks, through those communities where you give a talk. So your August has passed, you have gated content, you have one article, you have a lot of emails sent to the tier 1, tier 2 media. Probably no one replied to you, but you still did your best. And you join one podcast and one newsletter of those community leaders whom you commented previously. You also keep sharing actively in your social media. You got followers growing bigger. You have some conference which already invited you by themselves because they saw you, they knew you're doing cool stuff, and you have a very cool community of 10, 20 opinion leaders whom you really love, and you love chatting with them. So you have those small group of opinion leaders who accepted you in, and your brand start shining. And you keep all of those activities going forever and ever and ever. Because building brand is, again, it's very time consuming. It's very delayed in result. And at the moment you stop, you got punished by all of the algorithms, you got forgotten by media. The article which you wanted to publish is already published by someone else. The talk you wanted to give is already presented by another speaker, so you can be invited because, the talk is already there, and blah, 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 blah. You just lose momentum. So this process is never ending. So for me personally, it's constant up and downs when I in an emotional resource to work on my brand. I do all of those steps which I shared with you. When I feel more like down or tired, especially when the war in Ukraine started, I have no emotional power to give any talks. I just stopped posting on LinkedIn. I stopped engaging with community. So I gave myself time to, be with my own thoughts. And now I need to start again from the beginning. And it's normal. I mean, it's like ups and downs. But if you have a goal, now you have a framework how to approach this. And I hope this talk was useful for you. I hope you found some good frameworks for yourself. Feel free to reach me out and ask questions. I usually reply on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I wish you luck with building your own brand. Super open to answer on any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, very much. Maybe you want to have a glass of water because
Yes,
before our Q&A session, because we have already 14 amazing questions, and I believe it will be really hard to choose the best one. So let's start from the very first one.
Okay. Can I stop sharing my screen?
Yes, of course you can.
Waiting for the question.
So here's the question. My question is how to handle the knowledge gap between the users in branding. Like technical users can understand my brand easily compared to non-tech people.
Yeah, cool question. For whom it depends on who will be your main users. If your users are technical people, then you should not post non-technical content at all. If your users are non-technical people, you should not post technical content. I had exactly this problem when I stopped working on my startup in 2019, because all of my audience, they were iOS developers and they love technical content. How to work with parallel programming or how to use this cool stuff in Swift UI, or how to use this in the design pattern. And it was like pretty technical concept. So when I started moving to talking more to startup founders, I had to totally switch my content. So there is no way to keep that knowledge gap if you're talking to two different audiences. You should or pick one, or you should pick two different channels. For example, if you want to talk to non-technical people and technical people, you might be talking to non-technical people at Ask Me Anything in more generic subreddits or more generic communities. If you want to talk only to technical people, go register in Slack channel for very deep technical topics and share only technical topics there. So unfortunately, there is no way to balance those. You only need to divide community and like users and channel and share different content for them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is about ChatGPT, of course. So could we use ChatGPT for our aid in writing articles?
There is a tool which allows you to see if it's ChatGPT generated content or no. So generally, I don't advise doing that because firstly, it's easy to spot. Easy to spot with a tool. Easy to spot when you read that, and it makes very non-unique content. You can use ChatGPT for defining topics, for defining topic angles, for organizing information for yourself, and you can use freelancers to make an initial research for yourself. But the final content should be done by you. Why? Because it would be just too hard to stand out through hundreds of other people who use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT for creating an article about no code. I did it as a more like test for myself. It took me 4 hours, 40 minutes to write 11 pages article with the help of ChatGPT. But the quality of that article was very kind of so-so. So I wouldn't recommend you to use ChatGPT for unique content creation unless you're working with an audience which love listing type content, bullet point knowledge. If you talk to that audience, you might use ChatGPT for here is article which I fit to you. Make me 5 bullet points I will share on Twitter. You can do that, and you'll have typical 5 bullet points advice: how to sell your startup, how to get first 10 users, first 100 users, how to do branding. You'll have similar, bullet points, content pieces. You can do that for a short period of time, but it will not last longer. And someone else smart will come see your posting strategy and will do the same, because ChatGPT is open for everyone. It can be your assistant, but not your unique value which you're proposing.
That's right. Thank you. Let's go next.
I'm so
glad. Do you think it's possible that some brands will not reach to us because we will seem expensive on the market?
I'm very expensive on the market. I think no, because when you okay, let's separate this question into first one, hiring, and I would ask this person to clarify if it's about hiring or sponsorship. First one about hiring, second one about sponsorship. Sponsorship, it's much easier because the more audience you have, the bigger brand you have, the more you can charge. In that case, you earn. And some people charge $10,000 for 3 episodes in advance, which is $40,000, and feel super happy about doing that. So it's good stuff. And it doesn't matter for, if you build your brand as a content creator and you want to earn, it doesn't matter. It won't make sponsors feel like awkward about your pricing. That's one story. If you're building your brand as someone who want to get a job, you would need to showcase your skills. You need to showcase the stuff you know, and you will get approached by HR whose eventual task is to get as many leads as possible. And this HR will see you at a conference, will see you in an article, will see you in a list top influencers to follow. So for this HR, you will be just a lead, just like, someone she or he would approach. At that point, your salary won't matter a lot. You will just get initial inquiry. At the further conversation, you might have a higher price, You might have a higher salary and explain it by having unique knowledge and unique community, but that's your negotiation. So in none of those cases, you'll have that as a problem. What I see for myself when I ask bigger salary on the market, eventually people feel like scary. They feel like, oh, it's not for us. But again, even I'm not for everyone, and I'm fully open about that. So some brands will not reach to you because you think they're expensive. Facebook will not care. Google will not care. Bigger companies would not care. Startup which raised $40 million in Series C rounds, they won't care. However, small startup which has a runway for 6 months will feel, problems with their heart, like, oh my God, it's too expensive. But are those people you want to work for? So again, it's very about the people you are targeting.
Yeah, that's right.
But
So
it was a great question.
the next one is from Ala. So how do you identify the platforms that your user are on? And is there a specific algorithm that you use?
This algorithm calls ethical Googling. I know my users. I know those, let's say, 10 startup founders whom I want engage with me and similar ones. So I know their profiles. They have open profiles on LinkedIn. They're very active there. They have open profiles on Twitter. What I do, I open their profiles. I see what they read. I see what conference they attend. I read their social feed. I know whom they follow. And I have a huge list of people they follow, articles and publications they read, conferences they attend, topics they're interested. I do my user research before working on my brand because my brand is a product and I should know my users. So that's my algorithm. Then I have lists of everything. I usually do it by myself, and I might hire a freelancer to help me find 10 more publications like that to share knowledge about product marketing. But again, because I'm so deep in the community, I already know them. If you're just starting, you might, do research on your users, and then you might ask help from freelancer to get more to get on, because obviously you won't be able to get all of those platforms. You won't be able to be mentioned to be published there right away. So you might want to start with something smaller.
Okay, that's right. Let's go to the next one. Sorry, we just not doing a discussion from each questions because we have a lot of them, so we want to answer them as Lisa mentioned before. So text her any question on social media and she will answer it. So let's go to the next one. What common side of people's character keeps their personal brand fresh and holds attention to the one?
Can you repeat the question?
So I believe it's about people's side, people character that keeps attention to their.
I really love boring developers who share.
Really?
Yeah, because they shared very structural stuff. They can repeat it many and many times. So I guess it's not about the character. You don't need to be, expressive, emotional, without an Ukrainian accent to make people like you. You just need to know what your audience would expect from you, and find the biggest, strongest part in yourself, in your value, in your value proposition. So if we think about Lemon.io brand, for example, Lemon.io brand is very colorful. It's very casual. It talks with the founder, and the founder brand of Lemon.io is casual as well. It's very short, very straight to the point, speaking to freelancers. And that's how the founder himself behave in a company. So that's his personality. For brands of many developers in iOS community, those brands are structural. They're very they're very up to the point. So it's really normal to be the way who you are and just reflect what the community want. Because when I talk with marketers, I try to be myself. So I don't have a list of you should be fresh and colorful. This month you should be more like emotional. This month you should be more sad. It's more about this month I might talk more about no code. This month I might talk more about IE. And next month I might talk about something else. But generally, the way how I speak, my tone of the voice would be more or less the same because it reflects who am I.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. The next one, would you prefer to be admired in public for your sense of charisma, sense of humor, or your professional opinion and success, if you had to choose between?
Can you repeat?
Would you prefer to be admired in public for your sense of charisma or sense of humor, or your professional opinion and success, if you had to choose between? So if you had to choose between a sense of humor and charisma and your professional opinion, so what would you choose?
Well, to be honest, sometimes I don't want to be admired. I just want to spend time on my sofa and do nothing. So, and I guess when you do your brand building, you cannot really control what people pick, because for someone I'll have a strong sense of professional expertise, and that's what makes sense. For someone I'll have a charisma because I have a lot of funny stories and emotions I share, or for some of them I will have this fun humor which people remember. So I'm not in control what people would perceive about me. However, when I approach this from the job search perspective, like when I'm applying for a job, I really try to understand what is the culture and what will work best for them. Because for some companies, you put forward your professional skills. For some companies, you put forward your, sense of giving to community. When we were selling our startup to Abstract in 2019, one of the big value for them was community which we built. And back then, I was woman in tech, giving a lot of talks, working with iOS community, and the company who bought us wanted to go that way as well. So our community skills, our community building, all of the community stuff we did, especially with our branding, was very valuable. So you really showcase the part which is more important in different scenarios, in different situations.
Okay. The next one is like the story from the previous one. So in the previous one, so how do you handle trolls and or people who undermine your knowledge?
I remember one guy wrote in Reddit, "It sucks to be you." Like, I have one answer to them in a very professional manner. Yeah, but okay, but I will do. I will do serious answer. So it's very about your internal feeling, and if you feel confident in yourself, you would handle that. For example, I was asking feedback about our website, and our website, which I'm working on, had a lot of things to be improved. I got 102 feedbacks, which were pretty negative one, and for every of them, I thought, yeah, hey, I answered, hey, you're right, that's what we need to improve. Hey, you're right, that's what we can do better. Hey, you're right, I know this problem. Award for the best troll comment ever. One guy wrote to me, "Your website looks like a Halloween party." I like, wow, so maybe I'm a chief vampire product marketer. Woohoo! So, that's the way how you react. But if you feel confident inside you that, I'm okay, everything is good with me, that's a website, that's what I'm working on, you just handle that normally. And again, it was very painful in 2015 when I was getting all of those negative feedback about my startup. Like, your product destroyed my laptop. My laptop got frozen, or, your product is not flawless. It was not flawless because then I felt super emotionally, touched by that. But after like 5 years of running my startup, I'm like, okay, I don't give a fuck. I just will be very nice and polite because that's their opinion. They have right to do so. And secret, everyone has the right to say whatever they want, and that's your choice how to react. Huge hugs to someone for feeling pain about being attacked by a troll.
Yeah, that's right. I believe if if you want to have some experience with troll, you have to go to Reddit. It's really good boot camp how to manage with all them.
Yep.
So the next one, what is tier 3 media?
Imagine that you have three types of companies you want to work for. First one, tier three, is like a local company. They don't pay much, but they can hire you, and you're like, okay, I can go for you because it's my first job. You need to get your first job, and you go to decent kind of okay company. That's tier three media. That's publications which accept your articles, but they're not super big. They're not super popular, but they have some traffic. Tier two is like imagine if it's a bigger company, it's kind of international. It's a startup which raised Series C, Series B, so they are already knowable and like people already know about them, and you want to work there. And then you have tier one. It's like the best company you work on the planet. The same about articles. Kind of package. Tier three, good. Tier two, tier one, super perfect. Why you go from down to top? Because it's very hard to be mentioned at the best publication tier one. It's very hard to be mentioned and invited to the biggest conference. It's very hard to know to be invited to newsletter of opinion leader who charge hundreds of dollars to invite their guests. However, you can start with small. So it's a small start, small little baby steps. So tier three.
Okay, thank you. The next one is about common mistakes make when building their personal brand and how can they avoid or overcome them.
Yeah, it's mistake number one is not working on their brand. People listen to talks like mine for 1 hour and like, wow, it's such a cool stuff, and then do nothing. That's what happens. Second one, people start working on it and get depressed and desperate after 2 months of work because they don't see results. And that's actually what happens. You don't see any result. I was working on my brand from 2015 till 2016, and it was like nothing. It was very silent out there. But then it started going up. So it's like a whole year of building and not getting anything out there. Another example of mistake number one is to giving up is when you get too many no's. And I remember a conference which I wanted to be a speaker and applied there 3 times, and they just ghosted me. They invited me as a speaker and never replied. Then they proposed me a call to talk about my talk, and founder of conference didn't come to the talk, and I sit like an idiot with an empty black screen. And I remember all of those cases, and I felt like I really wanted to give up at that point because I felt like that community doesn't want to accept me because I'm not from San Francisco, because I didn't work at Facebook, because this and that and that. So the mistake number two is to give up when you get so much no. And the mistake number three is to thinking. Mistake number three is when you see things and you assume others get them easier than you. It's kind of it's very easy when you see some people getting accepted to talks when their topics are really not that good. Once they write in articles on big media and those articles are very bad, or opinion leaders who share ChatGPT advices, and you see hundreds, like thousands of people, like millions of people follow them, and you feel like how it's so easy for those people, but so hard to me. I know much more, I share much more. So you should avoid that mistake of comparing yourself to others, because you don't know how much time that person spent before getting to that point where he or she is right now. And mistake number 4 is not analyzing your results. You really need to go deep into why this work, why it doesn't work, who is the best audience, who is the wrong audience, what part of my value is actually like more better than other. And you need to work, mistake number 5, you need to work on your distribution. You need to really share everything you do as much as possible. You need to have friendship club who will upvote your posts, who will put your clubs, who will ask questions in talks like that when no one is coming. So you need to have that initial promotion. And if you overcome those 5 mistakes, there is a very high chance you will get to the brand you want to achieve.
Well, thank you. Brilliant, I would say. So the next one, I believe you got it because I'm not. So do you do it for Alex in Lemon? How does it work? How to dedicate enough time for it if you are founder or CEO?
Alex is working on his brand by himself. He has a specific goal in a company OKR to want to work on his own brand. He's amazingly understand his audience. He defined topics he wants to talk about. He defined tactics how to get as much reach as possible. He worked with his own content. He has his own resources to work on things he prepares. So I can give advice, but I'm not working on Alex brand at Lemon. I'm working more on product marketing. How can a founder CEO work on his or her brand? I'm sorry, you cannot outsource it. You can outsource some parts, but you cannot do that. And I love this question. I have so many friends asking me, Lisa, I'm engineering manager at a big company. I want to be VP of something at a bigger company. How can I build my brand? Can I hire someone? Or, hey, Lisa, I'm working in marketing. I want to be CMO. How can I build my brand? Can I hire someone? No, you cannot hire someone to build your brand. You can define your value proposition. You can define your users, and that should come from you because you know the best. And then you can hire someone to help you with smaller bits. Want to get article in Tier 1 media? $5,000 you might be pitched to TechCrunch. Or you want to be pitched to smaller media? $10,000 every month on a subscription for a PR agency who will be pushing you to be published. Or you want to get award as Forbes 30, no problem. $4,000 agency can work on your application. So you can pay brand building agencies to do, more like PR part of the work. They will apply you to the competition, to awards. They will do your Wikipedia page. They might send your proposals to the conferences. Such services exist, but they're pretty expensive. And usually they work for more like brand awareness when you're like a big founder of a big funded startup and you need to go to talk at a big media. In all other cases, you as a founder work on your own strategy by yourself, and you hire a freelancer to do small tasks. For example, I know that I need to share information about the best books in some topic. These books I loved, and then I hire freelancers to find me another 50. So you can hire someone to do specific research. You can hire someone to do small pieces of content for you. You can hire some agency who will do, Facebook ads for your posts if you do it like a conference or etc. or like some talk. But you cannot outsource the whole process. If you find how to do that, let me know. I will hire this person for myself.
Thank you. Good point. How do you measure the impact of your engagement or track the success of your partnership?
What does it mean, partnership? I don't really understand.
So I think it's fine to answer on that part of questions that you understand. So about measure.
How do I measure impact for every social post I have? I have engagement metrics. I see amount of views, amount of clicks, amount of likes, if it's self-posted platform. So I know how many people engage with my content. Also, I might be focusing if my goal is to increase amount of followers or people who engage with me, I see the follower count, how it grows. And for the content which I published, I see all of the metrics. For when I share content with tier 1, tier 3 media, I might ask traffic from their site, but usually I don't do that. I see amount of upvotes. For example, if it's a ProductHunt article, I can see amount of shares. If it's Product Marketing Alliance article, I see how those performed, and also I see amount of people who engaged with me after that content was published. So it's not really about measuring how many more people know me. It's more about how many things I did in order to reach audience I want to reach. And usually it works more in a more non-structural way. It's same with brand building for the company. Okay, if it's a company, you run a brand survey at the beginning, and you ask specific amount of people randomly what do they know about this brand, and if they know the brand, you work with brand agency for 3-6 months and you do the same questionnaire. That's how company measure brand awareness. Number one. Number two, you measure amount of brand keywords searches in organic traffic in Google Analytics. 3 months is like before and after working on your brand awareness, but that's for the company. For the person, you cannot do that. You really cannot measure amount of time people search for my name or amount of time, or I don't do the survey before and after. But I see it more personally when I know that more people engage with me and mention that they saw something which I talk or wrote about. So it's more empirical rather than analytical for personal brand building. Not sure I answered this question because I didn't get what partnership means. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Guys, it's fine to ask Lisa on her social media about a personal brand if we get anything wrong and not answering your question. So please, Lisa is really open to start conversation with you. So
Yeah.
the next one, can I brand my idea before releasing it? And Lisa, I will show you the next one because it's from the same person. So if I can brand an idea, how can I know my idea is with competitive advantage? So let's look on the first one. Can I brand my idea before releasing it? I'm not sure.
Well, Lisa is a spoiled, toxic startup founder working on her company for 5 years and then selling it. So your idea was nothing. I'm sorry. So if you would talk about your idea before, idea just like, okay, everyone can have ideas. So I firstly do not believe that ideas can be a competitive advantage. But I do believe that you can build a buzz or like PR, or you can build user base around your future product before releasing the product. You do it by using build in public approach. You can Google it, build in public hashtag in Twitter, share about your progress, building, explaining why it's cool. You can build, some buzz and some loyal community about that. But it's very hard to build a brand for something which doesn't have value. So it still will be amount of people who will be waiting for your progress, and it will be brand of yourself maker who are doing some cool stuff. You can do that. You can see a lot of makers doing that exactly right now, and then pushing product live. Product sucks and people get disappointed. So it's still about having good product.
Okay, that's fine. And if product is you, so just do it best.
Iterate and reply to comments. It's shitty to be you for 5 years and you will get there.
No, but we're just talking about personal brand. So guys, your product is amazing. You are amazing.
Yeah, so positive today.
So the next one, how to hire freelancer to help with the content and how much does it usually cost?
You hire freelancers for content with blood going from your eyes and with your hands shaking from what they're writing. I don't have an answer to that because
reality is different here.
Yeah, because my approach to writing articles, even when I do a 10-page article, I write it myself. Like really, I have not found a freelancer who did a great job for me. I had a freelancer who helped with writing initial content, pretty basic one. But whenever I need to go upper than basic content, I always have a problem. So you or hire someone to do basic content, or you hire someone to do research and you work with the research. How to hire freelancers? You do that through your network by posting on LinkedIn who did this or that type of the content. You get 10 people, you ask them to send your writing samples. 8 of them will be so horrible that you don't want to see those samples anymore in your life. 2 will be okay. So you give them a test task. You pay for the test task from $50 to $200, depending how much people want. Test task allow you to see how the person will produce content in your brand style, etc. Also, same. And then when you have a test task, you start working with that person, giving him or her a guideline and constant feedback on the content. There is a type of freelancers whom you might call ghostwriters for founders. Those are specifically focused on interviewing you. So you have 1 2 hour call. You answer on some questions
Mm-hmm.
for the topic you want to cover, and that freelancer will do article based on transcripting what you told, what you tell. Those one is usually more expensive, from like $200-$300 for a piece, and those people is pretty hard to find because they need to get your writing style, they need to do some nice compelling story from your long talk. So I haven't worked with those who do it based on my talks, but I work with those who were making initial content from initial research and initial drafts. Typical
Mm-hmm.
price for thousand words content from native speakers around $100, but it's not like you can post it on your name. It's like you still need to edit most of that. In my case, it's 20% of the content stay, 80% I just rewrite it, but I
Mm-hmm.
use it as a draft for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Researches usually cost around $200 for one research, which might be one Twitter feed, only one Twitter feed about some deep topics, $200. And the last one, people who do transcripts of your talks or like your knowledge. I honestly do not know. I don't know prices there. Long time ago, price on Ukrainian market was 7,000 hryvnias. I don't know how much is it right now, but it
Mm-hmm.
was maybe 2020. So that's how many Ukrainian freelancers would charge for that. And last one, agencies charge from $5,000 for one article which they will write, but I don't know the quality of those articles because I never worked with agency like that to do articles.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it helped.
Okay, thank you. The next one, it says same question. What type of reputation brand is the most stable in the expected future?
I don't know. I don't know the future. For myself, I know the topics which I'm the strongest in, and my value proposition is super deep understanding of development audience, super deep understanding of user research, of competitor research, of product marketing, go-to-market concepts, super deep understanding of growth mechanic, driving growth for startups, analytic and metrics, and I combine those all of that together depending on what's important in the market. For
Mm-hmm.
example, right now I'm working on growth product marketing approach, which is pretty trendy right now in my area. Before that, I was focusing more on developer marketing concept. And before that, I saw that a lot of people who apply to similar roles that I do, they don't know how to do user research. So I was pushing a lot of effort on user research. So it's inside you. What's value proposition inside you is the most trending on the market. Obviously, if next week it will be super important that product marketing executives know how to use IE. Okay, perfect. I have a project about that. Just working on that on my weekend. So I will refocus my value proposition to be more trendy. But it's like a product. It's like asking what product will be forever useful for the next 10 years. You don't know. You need to pivot your product depending on what's important on the market. That's why it's
Mm-hmm.
constant iteration.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, two more questions. You have already answered on 15.
Yeah, just wait. I will put light on in my super house because it's getting darker. Living in London is like that.
So,
Please feel free to ask.
okay. What should we share to build on public? Is it good strategy to attract startup owners?
Okay, let's ask about startup owners. Are those people who are your users? Are those people who you want to attract? It really depends on your acquisition strategy and on your target users. From my experience, startup founders from pre-seed stages, unless they receive $100,000, those are very bad clients because they're scrappy. They don't want to spend money. They really expect too many things for you to deliver on the budget they propose. So I would not target those audience at all. So if your product is targeting someone without money, that's a problem. Unless you want to give your product for free. However, if your startup founders is someone who just went into YC and raised $5 million, it might be a fit. It might be a fit for no-code MVP builders, for agency studios, etc. So you really need to have understand sub persona for who you're targeting with your brand. What to build in public depends on what those people want to read. If it's a 5-person startup, they want to know how to build company when you're 5-person. If it's 100 people startup, build in public for them is how to hire your first HR, how to build the culture, what the fuck the culture is. We didn't have that at all. What should we do? And your build in public is here is how we hire our first HR, step 1 to 3. Here's how to build the culture. It's actually about this and that. Or how to make a scalable growth, how to set up analytics. And your build in public is about how we set up analytics. Here is how we use events and mixed funnel. Here is how we implemented that. Here is 10 experts you can hire. Here is 10 guides you can read. Here is how we did that. Or build in public announcement. Hey, we figure out a growth loop for us. Here's a screenshot and here's a free document for you. Put a plus. I will send you how to make this growth loop. So your build in public, this is a tactic, and the value which you give should correlate with persona. If your build in public approach for 5-person startup, it won't matter for 100-person startup founder to read your build in public and vice versa. I hope I answered the question.
Cool. Thank you, Lisa. And the last one, but not the least. I'm so happy that we have a lot of questions. Sorry for taking the time, guys.
But it will be 40 minutes talk, and it ended up 1 hour 47. I will not trust you next time.
But question so good. All question
very good.
Yeah, all question very good.
Okay, so next question.
So, should I share my learning journey in any topic, even if it's something small?
Yes, absolutely. You should do that because that's the biggest bias people have. I don't have 10 years of experience. I'm not an iOS developer myself. I didn't work at Facebook. I have an accent. I was declined by many conferences before. Should I even apply? Everyone has those fears, and I have them as well. But you should talk even if you have something cool stuff which you learn, which you have achieved, which you have tried, which you have saw from other people. Don't just share that. You start with the small steps, and people might want to know exactly what you know right now. Because someone who achieved already, all of the knowledge on the planet, that person won't be interested at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Great example would be from my story when I talk about product marketing. I don't talk about strategy. I talk about very practical stuff. What is voice of the customer? How to do user persona? What is the difference between UX persona, marketing persona, and ideal customer profile? And those very tiny small things, and you can read them online. It's like a big research on something. It's like a big super strategy of product marketing. No, I just started with small stuff. And there are a lot of people who exactly at this point of time, they want to know how to make this persona and what is the difference between those three. Mm-hmm. And those are my target users whom I want to hire. So for them, it's super valuable information. So yes, do start small. Do share things even if you don't feel like super big confident opinion leader, because those big confident opinion leaders, they were starting like you right now. But they didn't question. They just keep going and going and going and became popular.
Thank you very much. I believe you are ready to name our winner.
Yep. If anyone have questions, you can ask me on LinkedIn. And winner. There's so many questions.
Yes, we do.
So many questions. So what
17. Got 17.
17. Can I choose 2?
Yes, you can. If you like, of course you can.
Okay, so I really loved the question about how to reply to trolls, because that personally was pretty painful process for me, and I wish everyone to go and know how to deal with that. So that's winner number 1. Troll question. I don't know who it was, but
yes, troll question. Found it. Please, if you are here, just text us and we will send you our Lemon.io hoodie special for for you, of course. If not, we will find you.
Yeah, we will find you.
And anyway, send you it.
Yeah, and second question was question about starting small, because that's exactly how I feel every time I work on my brand. I
The
feel
last one, yes.
the last one, yeah. I feel like, should I talk about that? It's so small. That's exactly how I feel, and I guess a lot of people in this call felt the same. So this is winner number 2.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Guys, please text us in LinkedIn. If you are if you're asking us from LinkedIn or from YouTube, wherever, or if you have our direct email, so please, and I will put my direct email, events Lemon.io here. Lisa, thank you very much for your time. It's almost 2 hours. We found it really interesting. And
I hope so. I hope I will have a lot of opinion leaders, and I really love so many questions. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to share my knowledge with such an engaged audience.
See you in the near future in social media. And
can I do my weird stuff now?
Of
and now Lisa becomes flowers. Okay, bye-bye.
Have a rest. Bye.